Oyez, oyez. Silence is commanded by this honorable convention. All those having business, draw near.
Thank you, and you may be seated at this time. Let me first ask you now to check all your cell phones, all right, so that they don't go off during these proceedings. And I've asked you to be seated at this time as we prepare ourselves now to get our inspiration and invocation from one of our good friends of this commission. Reverend Bardot has been here before, and she will give us our inspiration, but when she just says that it's time for us to do prayer, I'm going to ask you to restand, all right? And then we will go through the prayer, and following the prayer, Commissioner Stone will then lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. And again, let me say welcome. Glad to see you again.
Thank you, Chairman Ellis. Good morning to Chairman Ellis and to the members of the County Commission. My text this morning is from the Old Testament book of Exodus, one of my favorite passages. I'm going to read chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. Listen to the word of God. But Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and see the deliverance that the Lord shall accomplish for you this day. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You have only to keep still." This is the word of the Lord. The children of Israel were not out for a picnic when Moses spoke our scripture lesson to them. They were at the bank of the Red Sea with all Pharaoh's chariots and his entire army hotly pursuing them. As elected leaders, you may feel that you too are standing on the banks looking at a rushing sea. There are people right behind you with demands, and you face a swollen river ahead of you. Yet Moses tells the people clearly, and he tells you, "Fear not. Stand firm and see the deliverance that the Lord will accomplish for you today." In other words, fear not. God is still in charge. As county commissioners, you have constituents and others who make demands, but our God is still very much in charge. My hope is that you all will follow the charge of Moses to proceed bravely, trusting that our God, who has brought you thus far, will part the waters again so that you can walk across to freedom on dry ground. You are politicians, you are public servants, and this charge from Moses is a fitting word for you today. Sometimes all you need to do is to be unafraid and to stand firm and to watch the Lord fight for you. As Chairman Ellis said, please stand as we pray together, and at the end, please join me as we pray together the prayer our Lord Jesus taught us. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, bless each county commissioner and his or her family. Bless our chairman, Chairman Ellis. Bless all the staff. Help us not to be so focused on having you on our side that we forget to make sure we are on your side. Bless those who serve and who have given up time and privacy and rest in order to serve. Guide their deliberations today so that they may seek the best interests of those who are the most vulnerable, the children, the elderly, the mentally ill, the poor. Teach us all to look not for what we can gain, but for what we can give. Help us to look for the least of these, your brothers, so that we may serve them for your Son's sake. Let us pray together as your Son taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Commissioner Stone.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. To Reverend Dr. Bajo. My tongue getting. We thank you so much for being here with us today and for bringing us your words of inspiration. And let me just say now, since I see behind you 2 seats behind you, I see your husband. I want him to stand. Let us recognize the judge, amen? All right. And that he is here with her, and we are so glad to have you in our midst today. And thank you for your words of encouragement and letting us know that we have to stand in the gap, even when the gap get kind of hot. We have to bear the heat, and the Lord is always with us. In that same vein, let me recognize our sheriff as our constitutional officer. Anyone else? Y'all make sure I see him now. I don't want to skip anybody. All right, thank you all for being here, and we thank you for bringing your words of encouragement to us. Let us have roll call.
Chester Ellis, Chairman.
Present.
Helen L. Stone, District 1, Vice Chairman.
Present.
Dean Kicklighter, District 7, Chairman Pro Tem. Melinda Scott Hodge, District 2.
Present.
Bobby Lockett, District 3.
Here.
Patrick K. Farrell, District 4.
Here.
Tanya Milton, District 5.
Present.
Aaron Whiteley, District 6.
Here.
Kenneth Adams, District 8.
Present.
Let me have a motion and a second that we excuse Commissioner Kicklighter. He has a family illness.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we excuse Commissioner Kicklighter from today's meeting.
Second.
Properly motion and second that Commissioner Kicklighter be excused. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right, thank you. Now let us turn it over to Commissioner Middleton, who shall introduce our Youth Commissioner for today.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have today Melissa Osborne. She is a student, a junior at Woodville Tompkins, and she is going to fulfill a much-needed category where she's working in healthcare. So we welcome you today, and we ask that you be involved. Any questions you have, just raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us today, and thank you for your participation, all right, as we go through these proceedings. Now we will have our proclamation and special presentation. I'll call on the manager.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. At this time, I'm going to ask our Human Resources team to come forward. I think Ms. Mindy is going to do an announcement and recognize our employees who reach service milestones, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 years of service. And we really want to recognize them because they are the ones that actually make this county work. So, Ms. Mindy, if you'll come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Kegler. So we are here this morning to recognize our employees who are celebrating milestone anniversaries. Between the 6 total employees that we are recognizing this morning, we are celebrating 110 years of service to Chatham County, 110 years. And I imagine in those 110 years, these employees can tell quite a few stories of feeling like the Pharaoh was at the door, to quote the word that we just heard. So we will begin by honoring Corey Harper from Parks and Recreation with 25 years of service.
Wow. Don't move yet, Corey. Commissioners.
Corey, I just wanted to recognize your great service to the county. I've had several instances where I've been out in Parks and Recs and Corey's there leading the charge, making things happen, getting things done. I understand you may be having other plans in the near future, which I hope they work. Not yet. Oh, good, good,
right.
good, good.
He got to get those approved.
Okay, not yet, perfect. That's music to my ears, so we appreciate, I just want to let you know that I very much appreciate all the leadership that you've displayed out at Memorial Stadium and all around the parks, Rodney Hall, you name it, you're there, and you get things done. And got a great attitude, and appreciate what you do for the Parks and Recs and for everybody in Chatham County. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Also with 25 years, Miss Kathy Spencer with Public Works. Celebrating 20 years, Miss Cassandra Barnwell with the Detention Center. Miss Elisa Fish with our Finance Department, celebrating 15 years. Robin Shelton Mickle with our Victim Witness Program, celebrating 10 years. Also with 10 years, Stephen Proper with Parks and Recreation. And rounding out today with 5 years, Deputy Sheriff Advance, Marcel Lisi.
Good job.
Chatham County thanks you for your service.
And let me say to all of you how proud we are of you and the work that you do. The work that you do help us to solve some of the problems that come across our desks. And I was surprised I saw Cassandra, who I've known for I don't know how long. We ain't gonna tell, because we ain't talking about age today. But then, but Barnwell. Now I'm gonna give you something that you may not know. See Barnwell sitting right there. I saw him taking your picture. That's my student. He's one of those who still call. He's one of those who still call me coach. So good to see you again. All right. We thank all of you for what you're doing, and add our blessings to you continue to do what you're doing to make this county work well. We don't have any chairman's items or commissioner items. Next is our table item. Amend the purchase ordinance as of February 16, 2024, as it relates to the local preference provision. Note this item was tabled at the January 5th meeting, 2024. This item was tabled again on the January 19th meeting. Now the item comes off the table. May I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Properly motion and second that we move the item off the table. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. You're voting to take it off the table. Okay. All right, now. Amend the purchase ordinance as of February 16, 2024, as it relates to the local preference provisions. And again, this item was tabled on the 5th and the 19th. Now, may I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Properly motion and second that we approve the amendment. Ready for a question?
I have a question.
All right, question.
More so procedural, not necessarily procedural, but looking at this, it's not what I thought it was going to say. It basically puts us back where we were. I thought the discussion was that if they had, let's see, if their principal, all right, the issue is and versus or. All right, and so looking at the staff report, a local vendor or business shall be considered a local vendor if it meets the following requirements. One, the bidder or vendor operate and maintain a regular business within the county, or such and such, or such and such. And I thought we said that we wanted them to be a resident, if the principal owner needed to be a resident. Therefore, I think the first one, number one, should be the bidder or vendor is a principal with at least 50% interest in said principal personally resides within the Chatham County as evidenced by their home exemption and any of the rest. So my only concern is that this basically says they only have to meet one of these criteria, and our discussion was that we wanted them to be a resident. If their business was outside or within those 6 counties that are listed, fine, but we still wanted them to be a property owner in Chatham County, and so the way that this is reading in the staff report, I don't think meets that requirement.
All right, let me have the attorney address your concern.
Good morning. The way the staff report was laid out was primarily that this is affecting both our purchasing ordinance as well as our local code. Now, mind you, this only applies to items regarding equipment, material, as well as supplies. As you read earlier, the ordinance is designed more so to reflect the businesses that are located in Chatham. But what we have done with this particular ordinance has expanded it, because prior to this, we did not have a provision for people who are merely just residents within Chatham, who may not have a business. So what you read earlier, number 1, number 2, and number 3, which dealt with the maintaining a regular place of business, having a business tax certificate, and having a place physically staffed, that was always within our ordinance. And that applies to any business that's located specifically within the boundaries of Chatham. What we wanted to do, and what it was my understanding was a consensus from the board, was that we also wanted to expand that notion to include people who are residents of Chatham who may not have a business located in Chatham, because under our previous ordinance, they were excluded. But with what we did was say, under 4, that they had to have at least a 50% ownership in a business, that they had to personally reside within Chatham. And then there was some discussion like, how can we make sure to prove that they personally reside, as opposed to someone who says, oh, I have a house here. So we made sure that we evidenced that by their homestead exemption, which is something that you only can use once, and that shows if you're not local, I don't know how else you could prove you're local besides your homestead exemption.
Gotcha.
And then what we also did, number 5, was just made sure, and number 5 applies to any bidder or vendor, making sure that you paid all your real and personal property taxes owed to the county prior to the award. So in many ways, it does capture what the consensus of the board is, not only looking at the local businesses that are here, but also trying to make sure that if you are a citizen of Chatham County, you pay your taxes in Chatham County, and you reside in Chatham County, that you too can also be able to do business with Chatham County.
I got you. And I appreciate that explanation. That clears up a lot for me. So then going to the actual ordinance item, which would be 8-1 Charlie, I think.
Page 17, is that what
Or
you're?
packet page 22. Huh? Oh, I thought I missed something. So,
I changed that one.
Yeah, I think in the packets that you may have, because this was an item that was tabled and that there was changes made, you may see older versions that might be in there. What I was reading was the latest version that we have there.
I got you.
So, that's what I said, I'm not sure which version you may be reading from at this time.
Okay, but again, so the whole premise of this though is even if they, as long as you're a resident of Chatham County, if your business is within any of those 6 counties that we've stated, that you can still receive the local preference as long as you're a Chatham County resident, or you have a business, of course, you have an office here locally.
Yes.
And the homestead exemption is the one that brings them back into.
Right.
All right.
To evidence that. Thank you for the clarification.
Any other unreadiness? Please cast your votes. All right. Let us go to number 2. Amend the Chatham County Code Book as of February 16th as it relates to the local vendor preference provision. Note this item again was tabled on the 5th of January and on the 19th. May I have a motion to take it off the table?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
Properly motion and second that the item be taken off the table. Are you ready for the question? You got to clear it, Janice. There you are. Please cast your votes. Okay. Now that it's off the table, amend the Chatham County Code Book as of February 16 as it relates to the local vendor preference provision. Is there a motion? Got a motion?
Second.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Okay. All right, we go to items for individual action. Vote on board appointment. Appoint Charles Ashley Williams to the CETA Board. Is there a motion?
Second.
Properly motion and second that Mr. Williams be appointed to the CETA Board. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Okay. Request approval of the following budget amendments and transfers. In the general fund, transfer $154,000 from C&T salary account to C&T equipment. B, transfer $194,896 from the detention center salary account to transfer out to CIP fund. 2, in the restricted court fee fund, appropriate funds balance $79,900 to increase police equipment. 3, in the American Rescue Plan Fund, transfer $165,893 from the Hardin Canal Drainage Project to the Burnside Island Drainage Project. 4, in the Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax 3 Fund, transfer $409,100 from the reserves for other projects to the I-16/Little Neck Road/Jimmy DeLoach Exchange Project, and the CIP Fund, increase revenues and expenditures, $194,896 for transfer into the general fund to the detention center renovation program. Is there a motion?
So moved,
Project.
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Properly motion and second that the transfer be approved. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Okay. Request board approval to establish a budget for the American Rescue Plan, Local Assistance, and Tribal Consistent Fund. Now, before I call for a motion for that, is Tara in? Let her come on and give them explanation what we're doing here, Tara. I want them to make sure everybody knows and understand. And I know we got it in the staff report, but just give it verbally.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So as part of the American Rescue Plan Act, the local and tribal account, or the Local Assistance Tribal Consistency Fund, was set up after the original allocation. So many of you may recall that we got the $56 million, which is part of ARPA. This is in addition to that, much smaller amount, so it's only $111,000. And so the staff report is basically to set up that budget. So you all may recall that we accepted the funds for this account back in 2023, and we've been waiting until we had some projects that seemed to align to the eligibility. And so that's what we're bringing to you today.
All right, all right. You heard the explanation. Is there a motion for the request?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Properly motion and second that the request be approved. Are you ready for the question? Please signify by voting. Thank you. And let me just say before I move from that, we have to spend that money before we have to send it back, and we're not sending no money back.
Facts.
Transmittal of fiscal year 2023-2024, second quarter financial report for information. Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Ms. Davis, our finance director, to come to the podium and give you a brief overview of our second quarter report. Ms. Davis.
Good morning. Thank you for having me present today. If I can find the slideshow here in the beginning. Okay. This is the second quarter. Actually, it says first quarter, but it's the second quarter financial update. I hope this is right. I have the wrong slideshow up here.
Okay.
No, I have the wrong slideshow up here.
All right.
It
Just
is
go-
included in your
No,
packet.
just go ahead and give the report from your hard copy, and then we make sure that everybody's got the right report. Okay?
Okay, so I will go by my paper copy here.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Go by your hard
apologize
copy.
for that. This is the second quarter update. And sorry, that kind of blew my composure.
No worries. Slow down. Slow down. You okay?
Take some deep breaths.
Okay. So, the second quarter, we ended up with 161 million in revenues in the general fund and expenditures of 116 million. In special service district, we had 33 million in revenue and 24 million in expenditures. Including, in the next page, we have the close-ups of the revenues, and we had a total of, well, it just goes into the detail of the revenues close-up. One thing I wanted to point out is the intergovernmental revenue was 9.9 million of that. Included in that was a payment from the state of 8.7 million in the general fund and 1.6 million in SSD for a homeowner's tax relief grant that was given to us. That was basically property owner got $18,000 credit on their assessed values, and the state then paid that amount back to us. The investment earnings is kind of a highlight this month as well. Finally, we have gotten out of the unrealized losses and came into realized gains. And so with the difference between last year's investment income and this year's investment income was an increase of $14.5 million. But for the general fund this year, it was 7.4, but the difference is the 14 million. The sales tax collections for the quarter were $30.1 million, which brings our SPLOST collections since inception in sales tax 7 to 344.4 million. And our lost collections for that same period was 7.9 million. And the year-to-date for lost was 15.8 million. Our last page here is our cash and investments. We had about $550 million in investments, including 208 in the general fund, and cash on hand 35.8, and the Georgia Fund one is the 113 million.
What are we earning on that, 500?
Our investments?
Yes.
Well, the local pool, the Georgia Fund one, is earning about 5.5%. Most investments I'm purchasing now are around 4.5% to 5%, but we still have some old investments out there that are much less than that. So the weighted average is about 2.5%.
Is there any way to get out of the old investments and get into the higher paying ones?
Well, to get out of those old ones, you would realize that unrealized loss.
Yes.
And so, yeah, because, you know, they're not worth as much as when they were purchased, obviously. So they are maturing, and we are getting out of them and investing that matured money into higher interest rates. But, yeah, to sell those at this point, we'd take a loss.
Thank you.
Fire service fees, our favorite topic. We sent invoices this last fall of $15.5 million. As of the early February, we have collected $11 million, which is about 71%, and we still have $4.9 million to receive. The second invoices have gone out. So out of that, 29% of people who have not paid, they might be calling you. I don't know. Hopefully not. But those invoices have gone out. In the 2022-23 fire invoices, we've collected 97.1%, and we still have a receivable balance of $750,000. And that's my report.
All right, any questions? All right, Commissioner Whiteley?
I just have a quick
I'm coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so, Amy, when we talk about the 3%, that $750,000 balance on fire fees, do we know if any of those folks have a payment plan of some sort? I know we were trying to work with citizens to keep them out of court. Do we know if any of that percentage is going towards that?
We do not have a formal payment plan policy. However, anyone can go out there and make partial payments. So they can basically pay in partial payments until the balance is paid off. We are still accepting payments on the 22-23 fire fees if they wanted to go in and pay those off. But we are still seeing people in court too. I would say the majority of the outstanding items is like the $100 fees that are just,
Flat land?
yeah.
Commissioner, to piggyback on Ms. Davis's report, as the board instructed us, with the next billing cycle, we will be bringing that in-house, and a payment plan will be included in that. And we're going to get out the word to the residents that we will accept, payments. We understand that for some folks, this may be a financial burden, and paying in monthly installments may be a better avenue. So we'll be sending that information out.
And thank you, Mr. Manager. And the reason I ask, because moving forward to our existing invoices that are out, I'm sure that on top of the 3% who are behind from the prior year, there's probably a percentage, those folks are probably included in the part that's delinquent. But I want to make sure that we can find a way to kind of fill that gap as we work towards some different solutions internally here. I want to make sure that we are making sure that we are taking care of, especially our elderly population, because their pensions aren't going up.
Well,
and I get that.
We understand that, but I will say to Ms. Davis and her staff and all of the team, 97% collection rate is not bad. So,
Amen.
None at all.
I'm pleased with that. So it's not bad, but we will work with them to try to, because most of those balances are small amounts, $300 or less, and we, as time goes on, I think we'll get better.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, and thanks, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
Commissioner Stone?
Thank you. I think my question was answered. I was just curious as to what this collection rate looked like prior to what Chatham Fire and EMS was able to collect. So it looks like we're
doing really well,
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you,
Much
Mr.
better.
Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Lockett.
Ms. Kramer, that's a good job we're doing. One thing I would ask you, you mentioned earlier about they would go out there to clarify. We know where out there is, but for the public to know, what do you mean when you say out there? Earlier you made that statement about going out there to make the payment.
They can come downstairs.
Yeah, I just
Where
wanna
they
make
can
it clear.
pay?
Yeah, when you say.
Yes, they
yeah.
can we can take payments here, or they can still call the payments in. We can take it over the phone. They can mail the payments in. And of course, they can go online and make the payments at myfiretax.com.
That's all I wanted you to do, just make it clear for them, make it as easy as possible for them to pay.
Absolutely. And
Thank
we
you.
are looking at in-house services this next year, and some of them look very promising as far as giving different payment options. So,
There's 124 Bull Street.
yep, there's 124.
All right, let me do this now, because I want to make sure that folks understand and heard what we said. The state gave us, the state gave all the citizens a tax break, all right?
Correct.
Which should appear on their tax that they went out, right?
In 2023.
All right, so go ahead and explain that more in detail. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's the homeowners tax relief grant that was signed into law this last year by Governor Kemp. My first reaction was, they don't assess property taxes, we do, and why don't you mess with your own revenues? But they actually paid us back for those lost taxes in the form of a grant to the county, so it shows up in intergovernmental revenues instead of the tax line. But it's basically $18,000 credit on your assessed value. That equates to about, let me see, $180 in the general fund, $889 in the general fund, and in the SSD an additional $81. So if you live in the SSD, that would be a total of $270.
All right, and the reason I want her to do that so that you all will know, in case you talk to your constituents, and if you still not clear, then have them call Ms. Davis in them office, okay, so they can explain. I didn't want it to go out that we're going to reduce taxes again, all right? I want to make sure that they know that that came from the state through the overage which the state had, okay? Any other questions now for Ms. Davis? Sure, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Davis, can you explain how we can lose money on those investments if we take them out?
Well, because if you buy something at, say, 0.5 percentage point earnings, and the rate goes up to 5%, nobody's going to want that. The value goes down. So you're selling it at a lower price than you would normally get, because everyone wants to get the 5%. So in order to compensate them at the higher rate, you lose principal.
So we hold on to them and we just earn the rate that's on
Correct.
that.
Yeah,
for,
we
on
don't,
that investment.
we don't sell at a loss unless we absolutely have to.
Okay.
And generally speaking, we don't have to.
Thank you.
All right, did we get all questions answered? Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we'll call Director Serhat, all right, who will give us our bi-monthly report from C&T.
This is not, there we go.
Yes, you
Okay.
got it.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Been a couple, 2 or 3, well, actually 4 months. I got sidelined on, in December, so it's good to be back and see you guys. So this report is basically September, October, and November of last year. There's a problem. Having a little difficulty here.
Should be able to just use the clicker, right? Somebody from PRO come and help him.
There we go. Here, let's see if this works.
Got it?
Got it. There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Apologize for that. So currently, the way it stands, we're still down 10 agents. So, that obviously affects how much we can do and everything, but we're making do. The agents are very active. And, I think when we start building up the numbers, we'll just be a little more productive. But right now, I think we're doing pretty good. All right, so the fentanyl update. Last year, the 2 OD investigators responded to 108 calls for ODs, And of those, we've determined the ones that we made, were contacted, 86 of those were fatal opioid overdose deaths, which is up quite a bit from last year at 59. But, once again, I think we're getting at better, we're better at recording the statistics. So I'm still not comfortable that, that we've had this much of an increase from one year to last year. It's more that we're getting better at accurately getting those numbers. So I don't want anybody pushing any panic buttons. Are those numbers good? No, by no means. We still have a very active training for the officers. We were able to, for the distribution of naloxone. So we trained 352 officers. I've been out and talked to well over 1,400 individuals about the situation, whether it was at any of these local organizations or in the schools or wherever. So I'm very active with that. And last year we had, last time I talked, we had we had one case that the OD investigators got indicted for felony murder, and we have another one pending, and there are several in the hopper to get going. So that part of that component of our overall response to this opioid is going well. There, go. What is the problem? I'm putting that over there.
It's doing it again.
All right, so obviously, we've had our adult drug awareness trailer. We're starting to get that out more frequently. So we've probably had about well over 300 individuals that we've put through that trailer. The difficult thing, and it's really not difficult, but really once we get them inside and get them through the trailer, we've not had one person give us any, like, well, that was a waste of time. It's a very much an eye-opener. They're very, very appreciative that we're taking the time. We've got a couple of big events slated that we're going to be pulling that out to. So, over time, I think, that'll just become something that we can get out to the public, take it to everybody, and, that's pretty much a home run, getting everybody educated. And that's not just, that's not strictly just opioids. It's drug use. It's, educating parents to these red flags that, trying to get the problem on the front end before they get down that path too far. Because very few people, don't just go out and start doing opioids. There's very much a progression to that, and they end up there. So if we can, have an impact on the front end, that's another component of trying to stamp this problem down. Okay, the coalition update. We're the program with the Savannah Chatham Public Schools. They're training 6 of their counselors to be certified as licensed practicing counselors. That's going fantastic. The 2 dual diagnosis doctors with Gateway are in place, and actively that's happening, which is fantastic. And then the program with the recovery place and the counselors to supplement those folks' income in an attempt to keep them in. The turnover rate with those drug counselors are high. So any little thing we can do to thank them and keep them in the game, the better we are. And then I am very excited about this. Our opioid-affected youth, we have partnered with, and I've talked about this, it has gone from a project to a program, and it exists. So with the school, Savannah Public School System, and the Mediation Center, we've developed a program that we've called the Positive Peer Influencer. So 4 of the high schools are piloting it. So of those 6, I think we have about 60 individuals, 60 of the kids that wanted to be a part of the program. And so we did a big kickoff and did some stuff with them. And then we've been into each one of the high schools and met and trained those 60 kids up. So basically, the program is designed to give those high school students the tools they need to be able to walk into a middle school classroom and pass the message along with teaching them how to navigate peer pressure and how to make sound and good decisions. So we've taught the high schoolers that so that when they're asked and they can pitch that to the middle schoolers, they'll be prepared and ready to go. So we've already trained up about 60 of those kids, Beach, New Hampstead, Islands, and Jenkins. And I'm here to tell you those 60 kids are sharp. They are very sharp. They're very excited. And then prior to going into the classrooms, the Mediation Center, great idea, decided that we would do outreach events at each one of those middle schools. So we've already had outreach events at 2 or 3 of those middle schools like the Jenkins kids are going to go to this middle school. And so that feeds their high school. And those have been really, really good. So, we have these kids trained up. They're not just sitting behind a table. They're actually at lunchtime actively getting out and going to talking to these middle schools. It's pretty remarkable. So I'm really excited about that. We're starting to get I saw some dates come across my phone that they're lining up the middle school to actually go into the classroom and give those presentations. So really excited about that. So this is some photos of us teaching the high schoolers. Very attentive. They did some role playing. I can't tell you how impressed I am with these kids. And then here's the outreaches where they're going to the actual middle school just to get the kids familiar with them being positive peer influencers. We're calling them PPIs. And one of the things we asked the kids to do was to come up with a logo for the PPI program, which they did. We had to change it a little bit because each one of the schools, the kids, had their school's mascot in there. So I'm like, hey, we got this across the board, guys. So, but this is what it's going to be, pretty much positive peer influencers, a PPI, and kind of the theme of the program and what they're going to be pitching to the middle schools is choose to refuse. And so, long term, this is where it's at. I'm very excited about this. All right, moving on to enforcement, which is what we do for a living. The tactical teams have been very successful. We had a meth investigation. One of the things that I've asked the TAC teams to do is to rather than going out and just, take a tip, hit, move on to the next one, to slow down a little bit and do a little more investigating and try and push that investigation a little bit further. And this investigation is something like that. So in November, the tactical team started an investigation. They used multiple different investigative tools to get into that organization. They identified the organization along with the source of supply. Within a couple of months, they'd made 1 arrest and 19 ounces of meth. Then from there, they kept the investigation going and eventually got the source of supply, which was outside of the county, which is key to start hitting these folks outside the county that are bringing the stuff or the ones that are at least supplying it into the county. And we got another 15 ounces. So I was really proud about the attack teams, being a little more, working smart, not harder. So that's going very, very well. Here's just some photographs of that stuff. And every time I'm up here, I'm preaching about these poly drug dealers. Everybody is a one-stop shop, and that is, back in the day, 10, 15, 20 years ago, that really was unheard of, but really wouldn't have been that big a deal. Nowadays, when you got, fentanyl flying around all over the place, we're getting this cross-contamination, not to include that they're actively just putting it on everything anyway. So, you know, that's really what is up the ante with everything. And as you can see, we've got multiple types of drugs here. Obviously, this individual was more of a, you know, his big thing was meth, but you see weed and the usual stuff. And really, that's about it. You know, I think, you know, I'm pleased with our response and the county's response to the opioid situation. I feel pretty confident that, you know, that we're literally doing everything that we can do. And I think, you know, from a tactical standpoint, you know, that we've hit every one of those blocks, and we've got something that we are actively doing, from either education in the schools, the trailer to get out to the public, you know, enforcement, which is what we do best at. All this other stuff is kind of new to us, and we're walking through it, but I feel pretty good about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Director Sarhat, thank you so much for your comments. So one question I'll ask is there any evidence, you know, we've had a recent spike in violence. Is there any evidence that violence is associated with drugs? And if that's, let me caveat to that. And if there's a need to talk offline about that, then I understand.
Well, I think, you know, just in general, that, you know, usually somewhere behind the scenes, when there's some kind of drugs involved, or someone is a drug dealer, or it's a turf war, or if it's this or that, you know, I think that a lot of the shootings and the violence that is going on right now is not directly drug related. Okay, we work very closely with SPD, and so, you know, when there's a shooting and they got some information or some leads or whatever, they're calling us right away. We're running everything through our intel, you know, and I've beefed that up, and you guys know what we've done there. And so we're trying to develop as much intel out from the drug cases and homicide cases, so that when that stuff comes up, that we can, boom, we got it, and we can give it to them. So, you know, for instance, there was a homicide not too long ago. They called us, and we didn't have any direct information, but we were able to initiate an investigation that in a fairly quick period of time allowed us to give them a witness. Okay, so it's my, you know, we have a pretty good grip on the drug organizations, and they're not shooting it up.
Right. All right. So in that, looking at the stats, I know.
But are those people selling drugs? Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming
yeah.
from. I don't think that's a laughing matter, y'all. But it's all good. But I understand the correlation.
Yeah.
All right, so in 2023, we had 86 deaths due to overdoses.
Yes.
We had deployment of Narcan 348 times. And based on this recent report, your team was able to seize over 1,000 grams of marijuana, but only 31 grams of fentanyl. So my question is, what is making the fentanyl dealer so elusive?
Well, so a couple of things there is you don't need much fentanyl. So the volume of fentanyl, the actual size volume of it, you don't need as much.
Comparable, I understand.
Okay, all right. And then it's very difficult for us to, put a volume number on pills, okay? Because it only takes like 2 milligrams in a pill, and, so that, and then we have some active investigations that we're working towards that.
I got you.
And it's an ebb and flow. it's an ebb and flow, it depends on, the intel and, how things just line up. I can tell you this, that any fentanyl investigation or any intel, or we think those fentanyl cases are prioritized.
Gotcha.
They go straight to the top of the heap.
I got you. Well, I appreciate that. And the reason I ask is just recognizing, I mean, if we're deploying Narcan that much, we know where people who are using it are at. And so my novice understanding of policing, because I'm not a police officer, says, well, hey, we know where folks are using it at. You would think it'd be easier. But I think you made a great point in helping us understand that it doesn't take a lot of fentanyl to make stuff happen.
And oddly enough, this is a shocker here, that the deployment of Narcan by uniformed police officers, our ability to record that number, because it's never perfect, okay, went down from the year before.
That's good.
The reason I think that is not that Narcan and naloxone was deployed less than the county. It's how that call comes out. It's an emergency. It's a medical call. So, so fire and EMS, they're pushing tons of it. But I don't have that in my numbers.
I understand. All right, well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Stone?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate all that you do and your efforts. But I'm finishing a book, and it evolves around fraternities and colleges. Are we taking this trailer to Georgia Southern? Are we trying to educate? I realize that these are adults, but they might have fraternity brothers that could be doing fentanyl or opioids that might benefit from seeing this in their apartments or their dorm rooms. I mean, this book that I'm reading is very alarming because, you all can imagine the peer pressure in fraternities, especially like pledges and that kind of thing. And so I'm just real curious if we stop at the high school level or whether we are actually pursuing what might go on some of these college campuses.
Ms. Stone, I've yet to turn down an opportunity or being asked to go give a presentation.
I know that.
Okay. So, well, I don't know. I'd have to give that some hard thought. I'm not so sure that the trailer is designed to go onto a college campus.
Okay.
Okay. So we have really designed that trailer to get to the parent. Okay. There would be some benefits from the standpoint that, just getting somebody in that door, you're talking fentanyl, you're talking the pills, you're talking this, I mean, it all kind of comes up. And the first thing that comes to my head, we've got, Georgia Southern is now within the county here, and my guys, we do speak to some of the criminal justice classes out there. They want us out there to talk about career, and while we're doing that, we weave in the opioids, and then we've got Savannah. So we've got 2 colleges here within the county that I would absolutely develop something or go out or, get involved in that. But, I haven't actively gone out and pursued the colleges.
I understand it. It was just very apparent in this book of the pressure in fraternities specifically to experiment, and whether it was Xanax or whether it was an opioid type derivative, and how they're accessing these through the mail, how they are going about, and some of them are selling it. And so it just really dawned on me that, you know, I would hate for our efforts with 2 college campuses here,
Right.
not to at least reach out to these individuals, because in my mind, if, you know, if a college student starts drug use at that point in time in their life and they're feeling independent and they're feeling like they're on their own, you know, where do they turn for help? Because most likely the parents are not going to know because they're not living at home.
Right.
And so this book is very tragic, and I'll be happy to pass it on to you, but it's supposed to be a true story. So I'm just really concerned now at the possible number of college students that could be experimenting with drugs and or selling them.
The, so, you know, I've been here for, October will be 4 years. And, you know, from a law enforcement standpoint, I don't believe we've had any cases. We may have had one case that kind of steered into a college campus, okay? So you know, from the intel standpoint and then getting that and generating an investigation, we're not seeing that. Otherwise, we'd be all over that. Not that it's not happening,
Yeah,
not
I was
that it's
gonna
not
say,
there. I mean,
it
you know,
could
all
it be
day-
something we're not
all-
aware of at this point?
all day long, all day long.
Absolutely.
And let me say this: I will put some effort into that.
Well, I'm gonna pass this book
Yeah.
on to you, and it's a little alarming. Again, it's not a college here, it's actually in Charleston. So I was just really surprised at the amount of pressure that these young men put on each other in these fraternities and the parties and the, I mean, you know, we all know that fraternities enjoy their consumption of alcohol, but I didn't realize that it extended as deeply into substances that can and have hurt and killed them. So it just really raised a red flag with me, and I just thought I would ask the question.
Yeah, I will. I promise I'll look into that. I'm not sure they would open me with open arms, but we will look into that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
All right, Commissioner Lockett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Oh, we should go ahead. Out of you to the young lady.
All right, then we go to Ms.
But I'll come back afterward.
I was gonna ask what activities or things that you teach in the Positive Peer Influencer program.
So, you know, the peer pressure, you know, they do some role modeling, or, you know, role playing within, so when we trained the PPIs, the actual high school students, we came up with some role plays that they did amongst themselves, that when they go in to give the presentation, that's a part of the role play. It's a part of the program that they will present to those middle schoolers, along with, you know, just an outline on how to make decisions.
Thank you.
Yes.
Got it? All right, back to Commissioner Lockett.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I'm very impressed with the information you gave us today, but very similar question to what the young lady asked about the PPI program. I noticed in the perimeters of Chatham County, you got Jenkins out here, which you're covered. I noticed you have Beach, which is here, is covered, but I was concerned about Woodville, which is out here.
Yes, sir.
Have you got anything working for that particular area?
At this time, no. And so the school administration put that out to all the schools. And so you'd have to get a middle school and a high school in connection together, okay? And basically four of those pairs wanted to pilot this. So I think that this is going to be extremely successful, And so we're getting, and really, it's manageable right now. And we're working out, every time we're working out little kinks. And so I think once we get through this year, then that will go out, we'll gain schools every year until we get them all. But this is, this wasn't us choosing which school.
Okay.
This was the school choosing to be a part of this. Okay. Otherwise, I'd have them all there. But,
Okay.
that's just me.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Hart?
He actually answered my question
Okay.
about the selection of the schools, but I did want to add to the university aspect. They have campus police on university campuses, so if we do anything that's collaborative, you would definitely want to,
Yes, ma'am.
not duplicate efforts, and I think they provide resources for, because I've been through Narcan training
Right.
on a college campus because of their efforts.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we actually provided Narcan to the officers out at Savannah State, and then I think we, sometimes things don't make it all the way up to the boss. But I know we were in discussions with Georgia Southern, and my guys have trained. I know my guys have trained the Georgia Southern officers on how to do it. So more than likely, we supplied some of that to them.
All right. Commissioner Wiley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things I want to add. First of all, to my dear colleague, Commissioner Stone, as a member of a fraternity, I would just ask that we don't forget the sororities, too. I was influenced by a sorority member positively in my wife, but nonetheless, sorority members might have some influence over us, too. The other thing I want to add in that comment, as we talked about our institutions in town, let us not forget SCAD, because I'm sure that, I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but they may have some access that, students on other campuses have as well. And with that, if I may just recognize Professor Patrick Kelsey's class from SCAD, who is here. Hello, we see y'all, and y'all didn't fly under the radar. Appreciate y'all being here. And watch out, because those pills might not be real, you dig? All right, last thing I do want to ask, if you would kind of explain or touch on, I know it's a kind of like I won't say a pilot, but the notion of a fentanyl dealer being charged with murder.
Yeah.
Can you explain that, please?
So these are probably some of the hardest, really, investigations. Okay, for a lot of different reasons, but basically, because you get a problem, you want to attack them from all angles. So this is just another little angle we're going at this, okay? So we set up protocols with all the departments and ask them when if their detective shows up on a scene and there's a dead body, that they analyze that scene, and if they think that it's an overdose, they from the scene call us. And so my investigators, I got 2 of them to handle all 108, okay? 108 calls, and they make a determination based on the information that the detective is telling them. They'll go to that scene, or if there's really not that much there, that the officer can collect little evidence that we need, and then at which time we'll get that evidence later that day or the following day, and then we start the investigation. And so, they're time-consuming investigations. They're very technical types of investigations, and without letting the cat out of the bag on how we do these investigations, there's a myriad of reasons because, like a homicide, you either killed the person or you weren't the person that killed them. Mm-hmm. It's not like an individual 9 times out of 10 was shot at 4 times in a week. Right. And we got to figure out which one of those 4 is the suspect. But a lot of times, these people have multiple sources of supply. And so we have to weed through all that on top of everything else.
Gotcha. And
yeah.
I don't want you to get too deep into it. I just, especially considering we have students here, I wanted them to know that that dealer could potentially be charged with homicide or
all
murder
day long.
if they
I
are.
mean, we are going at it.
Thank you.
All right, any other? Let me thank you, Director Sirhan, for the job you do, and I'm especially impressed with the peer mentoring program.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm just hoping that from the pilot that we get all of the schools, I'm talking about the private school as well as the public schools, to come in and match. And it's I look at it in this fashion. Those high schoolers have middle school and elementary school sisters and brothers. And so it's like you teaching your sisters and brother about the danger as they come up through the ranks, as they come up through the years. And so I look forward to that pilot program rolling into all of the colleges and universities here, as well as all of the public schools and the private schools here. I'm hoping that from the pilot, that we get everybody involved, because this is everybody's problem.
You know, right. you might have just jog this old, worn-out brain a little bit. You know, maybe I approach the colleges with saying we want them to get me some PPIs to go in and train the high schoolers, and then the high schoolers go on, so it's from a higher level education into the high schools, which then tells those high schoolers what's going on in college, and then from there. So that's a nice. See, this is good.
Yeah, see, and that's behind the trailer, and teaching the adults, teaching the parents what to look for and how to be alert. They teach the children, and the older children teach the younger, so that we get everybody in the mix, because we know what this drug and fentanyl, especially fentanyl, I'm glad that we have the settlement from the opioid, because some of the monies that we got from there are going into the programs. And so I just want to make sure that everybody in the county knows that your officers in your department, as well as this commission, is committed to getting the information to everybody, because I think the greatest tool we have in our toolbox is education, right? The more we educate, the more people understand, because education is knowledge, and knowledge is power. And that's how we get the power to stop and to take care of things. So my hat's off to you, and I'm very proud of the success you've had in the pilot program. So now I just hope that we can spread it abroad.
Well, we're gonna keep
all right. And I know you're willing, and I know your
down.
people are willing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. At this time, there is a need for us to hold a public hearing. So may I have a motion to open up a public hearing?
So moved.
Properly motion and second that we open up a public hearing. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right, all votes are in here. Hold public hearing concerning disposable and sale for fair market value of a previously declared surplus property map as a right-of-way, but never built or used as a public road. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comments and confirm that due to the non-use as a public road and unmarked title to the county, the property shall be disposed of for fair market value as surplus property. At this time, let me call Mr. Manager. We're gonna call the attorney, who's gonna give us all of the ups and downs and the all-arounds.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Now, let me before we start, let me find out. Can we put that up on the screen so that they can see?
Yes, sir.
I know you got the board for us to see, but is it on the? All right, there it is. Good.
Yeah.
That's what I want to make sure. I want to make sure the public sees. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead and give your presentation, and then I'll bring in the public behind you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. So what this is I'm going to start with the resolution and read the whole thing. It's a little bit long, but it'll kind of explain where I'm going with this. So it's a resolution by the Board of Commissioners of Chatham County Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Chatham County, Georgia did at its regular scheduled meeting on February 16, 2024, hold a public hearing concerning a platted right-of-way designed as River Road that has previously been declared by a commission as surplus property, and held a public hearing to accept all public information offered and testimony concerning the history and background of the alleged right-of-way, and makes the following findings of fact. The alleged right-of-way is drawn on old plats but has never existed as a road or built as a road and was never used as public right-of-way. There is no evidence that the county has ever accepted the alleged right-of-way into the county road system, nor has the county ever maintained or performed right-of-way services pertaining to this strip of alleged right-of-way. The drawings on plats of the right-of-way show it is undersized and would not meet any of the current road county standards for procurement of public right-of-ways. The access to the alleged right-of-way is blocked by a brick wall that there is affidavits indicating the wall has been in place for more than 100 years. The alleged right-of-way is approximately 20 feet in width and runs a distance of approximately 280 feet. The alleged right-of-way does not connect to any public road at either the western terminus or eastern terminus and serves no public transportation purpose or value. The property has previously been declared surplus property. The county deems it not to have any right-of-way road value. All residential lots which the right-of-way traversing do not use said drawn road as a means of vehicular access or egress from the property. There is no evidence that the right-of-way will serve as a public road, nor that it has ever been used by the general public. Any claim by the county as to a title interest in the subject property would be somewhat doubtful. The Commission of Chatham County find that the alleged right-of-way is surplus property and is severed from all other public rights-of-way and has no public utility, nor been used by the public for transportation. The right-of-way should be disposed of for fair market value based on a certified appraisal value. The county attorney should be directed to prepare a quitclaim deed to convey any county rights in said right-of-way, and upon payments of the appraised value, provide the deed of conveyance to the property owners. The resolution shall constitute an official act and direction given by the Board of Commissioners of Chatham County. So with all that said, the road that we're talking about is this little part right here. It says River Road, and this is this frontage road that starts here and ends right here. This drawing is actually from 1891, way before cars were ever made, right? So, and most of these drawings were done when they were doing these plots, just really to show what is out there. And so this may have been a horse cart road that they just drew on there. So, and every plat after that would kind of show this, but then in the, I'd say 1950s, they stopped drawing this road on there. And so we don't have any record of it. There's a brick wall right here that we have record of from a person that testified in 1950 who was 70 or 80 years old, that said that brick wall has been there since he was a kid, so it's over 120 years old brick, and it's a barrier right here. So there's never been any road here. It's never been paved. It's nothing, and it's overgrown. I mean, where you can't put a road there. The width is, like I said, about 20 feet. And so what happened is one of these properties went for sale, and a firm from Atlanta found this and then basically said there's a cloud on the title. So anyone who ever wants to sell their property will have a cloud on their title, and so it causes a problem with the sale of the property. So what needs to happen is, this is private, and it's on a private road, so we basically went to the owners and said, this right-of-way, unopened right-of-way, it's on private property, no one has access to it, there's no way to build a road on there. So the fair market value for each of this would be this much, and that way it'll clear up any title issues. So if you want to, I think the total is $105,000 for all of this. I think it's a less than 300-foot road. And so we went to them and said that we can quit claim this to you, and this is the amount, and all the property owners agreed. And so they want to have that quit claim to them, pay the county the $105,000, and be done with it.
All right, is there any commissioner who want to ask any question? All right, I see Commissioner Stone. Anyone else? All right, Commissioner Stone, you on?
Thank you, and I want to thank the staff for answering my questions about this previously. So this is an unopened right-of-way.
That is correct.
And there's actually, from riding out, there's no evidence that there really ever was a road there.
That's correct.
So, Mr. Chairman, I feel confident that this is what we need to do.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, let me ask now, is there any member of the public who wants to speak on this issue? Is there any member of the public who wants to speak on this issue? Is there any member of the public who wants to speak on this issue? All right, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Properly motion and second that the public hearing be closed. Are you ready for the question? Please signify by your vote. All right, so move. Now, let me have a motion that we give the attorney's office permission to proceed with the quitclaim deed, right? That's where we're going with this, right?
Yes, sir, and approve the resolution.
And approve the resolution.
So moved,
right.
Mr. Chairman.
From properly moved and second that we approve the resolution and give the attorney's office permission to go ahead with the quitclaim deed. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Second, all right. Thank you all for coming. We enjoy every time you all come, all right? See you next time around. Thank you. All right, that action has been carried. We are through with that. Going to the action calendar. May I have a motion to accept the action calendar in its entirety?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question about one item. I don't want to necessarily stop it, I just have
On the action
questions.
plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's make the motion in second, and then we can come to your
Okay,
question.
gotcha.
All right?
So I'll make a motion that we include accept the action calendar in its entirety.
Second.
Properly motion and second that we accept the action calendar in its entirety. Ready for the question now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on item C, 7C, as in Charlie, the software update for 911, I wanted to know, I know the staff report doesn't necessarily say how often we will have to do this report, this upgrade or update, excuse me, and I know it is a newer system, and so do we have a potential idea of how often we may have to do it, and then also how long do we store the information from the calls?
I don't have that in front of me, but it is an annual update, and this is it's like any other software that we purchase. You have annual updates for the maintenance agreement. So, and that, we should renew this annually, but I'll get you the information in a few minutes on how long we store the information, because we record every call that comes into the 911 center.
Well, so respectfully, Mr. Manager, aren't our department heads around? They can't.
She was here, but she left.
If you will, I can get that information.
Yeah, I understand. I would like the record to reflect that this is the second time that our dear director is not here to answer a question about a matter that is pressing in our community. Thank you.
I'll see if our ICS director can come in. It came through ICS.
Say again?
Our ICS director.
Yeah.
Came through ICS. He could.
No, they
it did come from ICS, you're right.
Yeah.
But I guess my question was
in
more 911 though, but I understand.
they be in another room. They coming. They listen.
I knew somebody was around. I know they hang out.
Yes, sir.
All right, go.
Good morning. Yes, so we work closely with 911. The higher ground is required for the recording of those 911 calls.
Mm-hmm.
It offers a lot of advanced features. It does redaction in case those are open records requests. This is an annual update, and it's also preparing us for the new public safety building.
Right.
So it's a phased approach. The upgrade, I don't know exactly when it's scheduled to be completed, but we could certainly follow up with you on that.
Got you. Well, and so then when it comes to the calls, do you know how long we're storing these calls?
I know there's a retention record requirement, but I don't know the duration of that off the top of my head.
I got you. Thank you, Mr. Cree.
Okay, no, thank you.
All right, let's get that information for him, okay?
We'll do.
All right. Any other unreadiness? All right. Please cast your votes. Okay. All right, first reader. The petitioner, Whitley Owens, is proposing to rezone plus minus 0.35 acre parcel located at 6703 Johnny Mercer Boulevard from R2A/TC, two-family residence, town center, to PD/D/Ns hyphen, TC, planned development for non-conforming use, town center, MPC file number Z 0224-000432, pin number 100060030004. MPC recommend approval with conditions. That's in District 4. We'll have all those questions and answers for the second reading.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Because it's a rezoning, if any member of the public is here to want to have a discussion, we have
You
to
have
do
to
that.
have a public,
Well, we have to solicit, allow public input,
now that's public comment or that's public hearing?
public comment.
Public comment, okay, so they're allowed to be, so that will be in the second, no, that's
No, we
now.
have- now.
We have to do it now. Yeah, you're right, because it's rezoning. All right, let me have a motion to open up public comment.
It's not a
We don't have to
public.
go through the motion?
No, sir, you just,
All right.
we'll open the floor for if
All
any
right.
member of the public wants to come.
Is there
and-
any member of the public who want to speak for, against, or about, or understand, or anything? You want, come on. State your name and your address and so forth for the records.
Good morning. My name is Whitney Owens. I'm the
Okay.
owner of Water's Edge Counseling, which is at 2103 Bull Street.
Mm-hmm.
I own a counseling practice and looking to make an extension to the Wilmington Island area where there's a need for more counseling services. So we saw this building and went through our process of realizing it needed to be rezoned for us to be able to have a place of business there.
All right. Anyone else? Any other?
No.
All right, so now, at the second reading, all right, we'll go through all the rest of the proceedings, all right? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to go back to that?
No, sir, no. Oh, yeah, if we could.
I mean, because they came in, maybe they know about the duration?
Yes, sir.
All right, don't worry. Yeah, because there's no second reading, we go into information. Mr. Manager, would you call the director for 911 and the assistant up?
Yeah, Ms. Pinckney, if you can come to the podium, Commissioner Whiteley had a question concerning the duration of which we keep the recordings.
Good morning, Ms. Pinckney, and Mr. Palmer, right? Russ. All right, well, thank y'all for being here. My question just was in reference to this software update. I understand as we're expanding, we're working through kinks. So one, the question I had was how frequent was would we expect an update of this magnitude to take place? And then my second question was, how long are we hanging on to calls? I understand it's recording calls, we're storing them. How long are we hanging on to them, and like what type of cost is that to us? Like how are we storing them?
It's yearly maintenance. The maintenance that you see on the action items, that's the yearly maintenance, and we keep calls for 3 years.
Gotcha.
Plus
All right.
the current year.
And then, so are there any other projected updates to this system, to the recording piece, that we'll have to do in the future?
Other than the yearly maintenance, that we don't have any other costing right now. But this system has been in existence for a while, pre-merger, even during the merger was when we actually purchased that system. So it's nearing its end of life.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and Commissioner, to follow up on Ms. Pinckney, if there's a new update that comes out, we do the annual maintenance, but if something new comes out that's gonna help us do our job better, we'll certainly do that. One of the things I'd like Ms. Pinckney to do is, with the recording, kind of give you an idea of our quality assurance program. They have a program where they review calls at random, so I asked her to kind of explain that to you.
You read my mind, Mike.
And that, just so I have the right understanding, it's stored on server. Yes, I was just confirming that with Russ, who's over our technical department.
Talk louder.
I was just confirming with Deputy Director Palmer that we do store the data on the servers instead of in the cloud.
Okay.
And also, I was talking with him when you all were discussing, so if I don't answer your questions completely, please just let me know. We do random samplings of calls for quality assurance. Basically, what that involves is checking to make sure that the scripts are used properly and all information that was needed to gather, to properly dispatch calls was gathered.
Gotcha. Now, just to go back to a point you made, you said that it's nearing its end of life. So are we looking at what other options are out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why it's important for staff to go to conferences. The way it stands right now, every vendor that's used in public safety is usually at the APCO conference, and they tailor to people in communications as well as other branches of public safety.
So y'all are regular attendees of the APCO conference, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. You want to make sure there's no barriers there. Thank you for your service, too.
And
Thank you for the
Commissioner,
funding.
to go along with that, and Ms. Pinckney and Mr. Palmer there, we make sure they get the appropriate training that's necessary. But you're going to hear, as we keep making our journey down, getting our system where it needs to be, when we did, after we demerged from the police department and we brought 911 back under the county umbrella, it was the board at that time, we used to have a city dispatch and a county dispatch center. For efficiency's sake, the board at that time decided that we would dispatch countywide. It just made perfect sense. And we're still recovering from that. So that's why when Ms. Pinckney talked about, that system's old and it's outdated, we're trying to correct some of the things when we demerged and we brought 911 under the county umbrella.
Gotcha. All right, well, thank you for that, Mr. Manager. And I don't want to take up this meeting's time with further questions on that stuff. I'll ask any further questions in the future, but I appreciate y'all answering my questions in reference to this update.
And the last thing with that, and I wanted to mention that we've got a time set up. I know at the last meeting, several commissioners wanted to take a tour of the 911 center, and Ms. Pinckney has set up a time next week, Thursday?
On the 22nd.
The 22nd. So if you want to participate in that, want to take that tour, please let Ms. Danielle know, and she'll accommodate you on that.
Give us the time,
We're open that day, so if you want to come in the mornings, maybe around 10 o'clock, then it's not so terribly busy. But as I said, we're open that day to whenever you would like to come out and view the center.
Let's arrange for
It can.
Danielle to send out an email and give them some suggestion of times.
We'll take care of that.
And then they can respond back to her, and then we can uniform it.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that we're all on the same page. We'll do it that way, so that we don't have it scattered here and there.
Yes,
So
sir.
you'll be ready. All right, so let the email go out, and please respond to the email about your time, okay, your best time.
I was just gonna say, Director Pinckney, don't give us just free reign to pull up.
And let me say this too now while we're talking about that, and while we're talking about this, the system that's in place now is at its limits or more. As we look to do yearly maintenance, and we're also looking to go into the new EOC building, and so we're looking at updated equipment so that we're not taking this old stuff into the new building now. All right, I'm gonna record to you what the Bible recorded to me. You don't put new wine in an old bottle. All right, so when we get ready to go in the new center, we're gonna have some new stuff to go in the new center, and it's gonna be the new up-to-date stuff at that time. So as they go to those conferences and things, we're looking for those kinds of things because we're moving forward, okay, with the EOC Center, and sometime soon we ought to have groundbreaking for that. Mr. Manager, I'm still holding y'all of that now.
Yes, sir.
I got my foot on your neck, all right? So when we have that, the same time, Ms. Pinckney and the folks from Intel, who was just here?
Siemens. I mean,
Yeah,
no,
no.
911.
I see.
yeah.
Yes.
No, I see. Yeah, see, all those things have to be, work together so that when they buy the new, Intel system, it has to work and it has to be in place. So, as we may come, they may have to come back to us again next year this time for a update to the present system. But by the time we get to the next year, we're gonna be buying some new stuff, because we're not taking this old stuff. That's one of our problems now. We're dealing with old stuff in an old building, and that's got us kind of handicapped, but we're working through that handicap. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right?
And thank you. I just wanted to correct the record,
Yeah.
to reflect that our director has made it to the meeting.
Right.
I said she didn't, so.
Okay, all right. Now, Mr. Manager, any more information item?
No, sir, but one thing I would, one announcement that was given to me, and I didn't know whether you want to make it or not, but for the rest of the board, the chairman's has an anniversary coming up. It's 50th wedding anniversary, so I just want to make sure. He's, okay, all right, so I understand he's under, strict orders from his family, so just want to make that announcement, so that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Happy anniversary, Mr. Chairman. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And it is today. It's today. It's the 16th, yeah. We started dating on the 14th of February, and all she could get was one box of candy, because her mama wouldn't even allow me to come to her house because she was just 15. But when she turned 16 on November the 9th, I was there, and I'm still there. All right, so thank you all for that. Now, there is a need for us to have executive session, all right?
Personnel.
For personnel, litigation.
Land acquisition.
Acquisition, all right? Motion, please.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Properly motion and second. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right. Go into executive session. This session is closed.